Good Wednesday morning, everyone. This is Mitch. Hope you guys are getting up, getting at it, and having a great start to your morning and day in general. I'm going to talk about the weather specifically for today as of Wednesday, March 16th. Had to make sure what date it was. But getting going here, it's going to be a pretty active weather day across portions of the southeast and pretty much everywhere else in general. It's going to be relatively quiet, but we're going to give you an update on what is going on. We're also going to mention the fact that it's going to get very active here in the next really 2 to 3 days as a system after system makes its way across the middle of the country, dives into the south central U.S. So we'll briefly mention that, but of course, we'll leave that for the evening videos to dive really deep into. But we have some active weather times coming up here in the next within the next 7-8 days. We have multiple systems dropping down. It's going to bring multiple episodes of severe weather. So stay tuned tonight, and we'll continue to get you updates on that. But if you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. You guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below so we can all look out for one another, pray for one another, and glorify God doing it. So let's get going here. So today, this is as of today, we have a slight risk down here, and this is including areas of north central Florida. This is including areas like Jacksonville, Florida. And then this extends into southeast Georgia into a very small section of southern South Carolina. Savannah, Georgia, for instance, covered in this. And this is really the threat. There is going to be a small tornado threat, a 2% risk of 25 miles in any given location. So a small tornado threat, and this is all in response to that cutoff low that's just been meandering across portions of the south and southeast over the last really 48, 72 hours. And it's finally starting to make its way closer to off the coast of the eastern seaboard. But we're still dealing with some nasty weather with it. I think there could be an elevated hail threat across these portions right here in the slight risk. I think, with the cold air aloft and steep mid-level lapse rates, which is pretty much cold air aloft, you can say it creates the risk for significant hail. I'm not talking about hail the size of baseballs or anything, but you could definitely have some storms and include a good bit of hail in these areas, definitely, really including in this whole area of the southeast at brown and yellow, but it's specifically and especially for this section in yellow right here that has that 15% risk of hail occurring in 25 miles in any given location in that area. So be careful today. And you can really see it on a satellite loop what is going on here. We have another system about to drop down. This will create 2 to 3 days straight of severe weather across the south central U.S. into the deep south. We'll talk about that tonight. But this is the system creating severe weather, really active weather this morning into this afternoon. And you see this spin right here? That is that cutoff low, that upper trough spinning around. And to its east, it funnels in moisture and creates a severe weather event. I don't think it's going to be significant today, but there will be some severe thunderstorm warnings and some isolated tornado warnings out there. So definitely be aware if you're in those severe level areas that I just mentioned previously before the last panel here. But there will be some severe weather in response to this. But let's get going on what the HRRR model is going to look like today, what potentially the weather could look like a little bit later today. And it's pretty active right now across areas of eastern Georgia and South Carolina. Like I mentioned, it would likely be so in last night's video, waking up to a lot of rain in the upstate of South Carolina, areas of eastern and northern Georgia is definitely experiencing a lot of rain this morning. But we'll keep this rolling here, getting into, if you don't know what time we're at, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, you back this up an hour if you're in Central Standard Time. But most of the weather is going to occur in that Eastern Standard Time, Georgia, the Carolinas. But we're getting into about late morning, and you're going to have a kind of a tail of probably some strong thunderstorms that really move through and start to reach that Georgia-South Carolina border, and then move into South Carolina, the Midlands of South Carolina, the Low Country of South Carolina. We'll experience a line of storms likely early this afternoon that will disrupt any travel briefly, and will continue to make its way into North Carolina as you get into the evening hours. And then there's a potential for some more storms to pop up in response to this cutoff low spinning around. And I really think I think they could throw down some hail. I'm not talking about a massive amount of hail, but maybe some very small hail with that cold area aloft in the atmosphere that can really create that hail. But watch out for these storms here, even as you're getting into 8, 9 p.m. across areas of southeast Georgia and areas of southern South Carolina. There's still going to be some storms around, even overnight. It's going to be a stormy day in general across Georgia, the Carolinas, and Florida. So definitely be expecting that. we look at it in a more broad picture on what's going on in the eastern U.S. in general, and really that's the only thing to talk about. There's some little bit of showers up here. Some of these showers are going to make its way into Virginia, West Virginia, but just some shower action into the afternoon. Nothing too crazy to really talk about for anywhere else. But as far as temperatures, you see this cold pocket of air right here. That's in response to that spinning cutoff low that will continue to make its way across the western Carolinas here. And, it's probably going to bring its own isolated pocket of cooler air, not cold air, but it's going to only be in the 50s, maybe even 40s in the mountains of North Carolina. But, in and around that cutoff low, temperatures will have an opportunity to warm into the 60s and 70s. But if you're right under the influence of that low pressure, you're probably going to be a little cooler, a lot of clouds, and probably temperatures only in the 50s, for example, in like the Triad of North Carolina. But everywhere else around it, you're getting in the 60s and 70s in the Ohio Valley. And that's how it is. These cutoff lows, they don't influence a broad area of weather, just really a small area, relatively speaking. So on top of this, you have a ridge building, so you're above average temperature-wise. So a nice day across the Ohio Valley, no moisture expected. And you're starting to just flat out get pretty warm across the south-central U.S. with temperatures rising into the 80s. And things like that. So let's get rolling here into the western U.S. It's actually a pretty quiet day as far as the Pacific Northwest, which likes to get a lot of rain, but it's going to be a quieter day today. The only thing I'm watching here is some mountain snows in the northern Rockies, and then some moisture in the more lower elevation areas in response to this upper trough, this low pressure starting to dip southeast, and which will bring multiple episodes of severe weather across the south central U.S. and the south in general over the next few days, which we will talk about in tonight's video. But that is what this system is. Therefore, it's bringing rain outside the mountains in eastern Colorado, northeast Colorado, areas of Nebraska. So as you're getting into your afternoon, evening hours, some rain in this area. It's probably too warm for any snow in places like Denver, Colorado. But temperatures out west, like I said, Texas is going to be pretty warm. Desert Southwest, pretty warm. Nothing, too above average. The valley, a nice day, no rain expected. But then with this upper trough moving down here, there's going to be a little bit more cooler air. So a little bit below average in this area of the west right in here. So compared to average, everything's elevation dependent out here. So we don't really quite know. I don't know the average high for every single location here in the Rockies. That's why I don't talk the Rockies too much. It's a lot more difficult to talk about because there's a lot of microclimates because it all depends on your elevation out here. But that's how it's looking out there. Nothing too crazy to talk about. But as we're going forward, I'll briefly mention this to finish off this video. Then I'll let y'all go throughout your day. This is that cutoff low that's giving us nasty weather today and maybe a little bit tomorrow. This will continue to move off, weaken, kind of get lost in the main ridge, and nothing to talk about. This is the second system. This will bring a round of severe weather tomorrow. This will bring a round of severe weather Friday, and then potentially severe weather in the far eastern Carolinas and maybe southeast Virginia for Saturday. And, you're going to have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and it's all because of the influence of this upper trough, this low pressure that's going to ramp up some low-level moisture, probably some kind of low-level jet, kinematics is what we say, and some wind energy. So therefore, you're going to have episodes of severe weather down here. And then the big dog system drops down. And obviously, we won't talk too much about that right now, but this is going to bring some nasty weather for a lot. And I think this has much more of a more significant severe weather event potential with this. And, as we look at that and we compare it to this, the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center, this area right here is in response to this cutoff low that we're dealing with right now here in the southeast. So there can still be a marginal risk of severe weather because of it in the eastern North Carolina and very far areas of southeast Virginia. But this is in response to that system I just mentioned that really starts the 3-day event of severe weather across areas of the south central U.S. You have a slight risk, pretty large slight risk, extending all the way just south of Oklahoma City, all the way to New Orleans and everywhere in between, including Dallas, Shreveport. And, there is a 5% risk of a tornado. But you notice there's not much of a tornado risk way up here. It's really down here in the swampy areas in the bayou of New Orleans. I meant Louisiana and just south of New Orleans and things like that. But the wind threat is going to be big, and then there's going to be an expansive hail threat with this too. So I think this is mainly hail threat driven, but this is likely going to increase here in the next probably 12, 18 hours. I think the tornado risk will be expanded further northwest. We'll have to see how it goes. This is for tomorrow. I don't want to talk too much about things over the next couple days because we try to leave that for the evening videos. But I do want to mention it because it's important for people to know the risk of severe weather. But Friday morning and a Saturday morning, it's the same system. And there's going to be a risk of severe weather. And there's definitely time for this to expand either way. But like I said, slight risk up for these areas down here, marginal extending all the way into the Ohio Valley, into the Eastern Carolinas. And then we get that 15% risk, and that is still because of that same system that's about to drop down tomorrow into the south central U.S. But then it gets quiet. It gets quiet for your Sunday, and I think it'll be relatively quiet for most for your Saturday. Then day 6, this is when that big system drops down. You still got the 15% risk for this area. This is when you get into a dangerous territory for severe weather. And then day 7, which is for your Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning. We'll continue to monitor this, check this out, but there's some active times ahead in the south in general for severe weather. You guys have a blessed day, and I'll talk to y'all this evening.